Hello, this is Artiso Fruits back with another convention video. I feel really lucky to have been able to present at Anime Boston this year. It's definitely something that I would not have imagined myself being capable of doing, even just a year, 2 years ago. So thank you, Anime Boston, and for everybody that was able to attend the panel. Also, thank you to my friends and family for helping me set up the audio and video for this convention recording. I'm just really excited to share this presentation online. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello. Oh, wow. Welcome to Dear Jujutsu Kaisen. Have we met before? My name is Sierra Edwards, but before we get into that, I just want to say welcome to Saturday night at Anime Boston. I'm just so happy that y'all came to the panel, so woo, thank you! I really hope you like Jujutsu Kaisen. If you don't like it, that's okay. We will get through it, it'll be okay. So this is basically kind of like a hangout. I'm gonna go over a lot of the characters. And a little bit about me. My name is Sierra Edwards. I use he, they pronouns. I currently go to school for comics, which is really cool. I love frogs, and I like to climb retaining walls to find sea glass. And I would be so dearly lost without my Powerade Zero. Okay, and then just some housekeeping ground rules before we get started. I've trapped you all in my domain. You don't have to follow my rules, but it would be nice. So there's going to be spoilers. If you came for Jujutsu Kaisen, we're going to be spoiling anything from season 1 to 2, and then the movie. I'm going to try to keep character deaths out of it for the most part, just in case people haven't seen stuff. We're going to be referencing a bunch of other series just with how they relate to Jujutsu Kaisen. So there'll be a little bit of just what we need to compare them. So nothing too deep into those series. I think there'll be 2 examples, and I'll give warnings for those. For questions, we have so many characters to cover. I did not realize that there were so many characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. We will not be covering them all. If I don't get to yours, I'm very sorry. There is a Q&A at the end, so definitely if there's one that you're the entire time you're Sierra, talk about it, Sierra, talk about it. I'm really sorry. These are the ones that I came up with, and if you have more, I really want to hear them. So a little bit of an overview to the panel. My biggest question was I watched the first season, and then afterwards I started making a PowerPoint because I was wow, there's so many characters that kind of look very specifically like other characters from other series, and I was is it plagiarism? What's going on? The shonen genre, so many characters are reused all the time, but it just felt very specific. So at one point I had 28, and I thought, okay, I think it's time for a panel. We were well over 28 characters at this point. But yeah, we're going to be talking about if something seems like it's inspiration of the author, archetypes, tropes, all that kind of stuff. So who better to start with than the main character? We have Yuji. And I would say when I first watched this series, I thought he looked pretty unique. He's got short pink hair. I really like his outfit. I think the simple colors is really good. The biggest thing that I first kind of thought that his character kind of felt a little bit, it's not character-wise, but kind of body situation, was, I've never seen Parasite, sorry, but just kind of reminded me of that. The biggest one is this character from Naruto. I feel I'm scarred by that character, but yeah, so for body appearance, just because Itadori has Sukuna inside of him, he has these things. But I think character-wise, he's Naruto. He's Naruto, come on. I was watching season 2, and the entire time I was this is Naruto. So for Itadori, I would say he's original-ish. I really like his design. I think It's really crisp. It feels unique, but he is Naruto with a little bit of an extra flair. Yeah, but I would say that he qualifies as an original-ish character. So, cool. Wow, we're going to talk about Megumi. So I think I think this one's like easy, but we have like a simple dark-haired character. I saw on the internet that a lot of people were comparing this to Aki from Chainsaw Man. And literally when I was like searching up these two characters, I ended up with like somebody else's like fan-made version of this, and I was like, great, already know about it. But I think also what's interesting is I feel like they both have a relationship with the main characters in their series that like, there's a lot of friction between them at the beginning, and then they get over that and they become friends. And is this a coincidence? I feel like it could be something new in the genre that's coming out. It could also be that this is just what happens when you're like, you know, not the lead character, and you're friends with like somebody that works in this supernatural field. But yeah, as I mentioned, they both kind of become friends at the end. Moving on, we have Nobara. And I had a lot of trouble coming up. Her appearance seemed very familiar, but I couldn't quite figure out who she looked like or like who she acted like. She's got not a generic like appearance, but it is relatively simple. Like she has short, kind of like bob brown hair, and she's kind of rambunctious. So the first, like, when I like started working on this like a year ago, the first person, I think I had watched Attack on Titan recently, and I was like, yeah, okay, this kind of like appearance-wise for when she's a little bit calmer, felt like that. But kind of under further investigation, I realized that she is so much like the main character of His and Her Circumstances, Yukino. They both have like a sinister side. They're both really playful. They both have like really strong objectives for themselves. And I'm not sure that this is like a series that like the author of Jujutsu Kaisen would be interested in, but he seems to have a lot of influence from Evangelion. It's the same director, so could be something that was in his vicinity. But I want to kind of chalk it up that maybe they're two separate things that just happen to be alike. So I would say maybe there's an inspiration there, and maybe we're forming a new archetype. Maybe there'll be a new trope that comes out of this. So moving on, we have Nanami. I would say his appearance also kind of for a long time, I like was itching at me. I like went through very many iterations of this of like, who does he look like? He has like some unique features like with the tie and the glasses and the short hair. But the first kind of person I came up with was from Chainsaw Man. I think it's kind of like older gentleman, is kind of in a teaching role, but not necessarily like specifically a teacher. And then the next from Ghost in the Shell, I think was like the glasses. And that led me on to Miles from Fullmetal Alchemist, which I think has the strongest resemblance glasses-wise and maybe also like character-wise. And then we do have, in season 2, we have like his younger version, and this is probably the only one out of like the people that we see again in season 2 that I like his original design better than the younger version. And then he kind of reminds me of Hattori from Fruits Basket, I think in demeanor, kind of older, workaholic. Yeah, so he has borrowed other people's glasses, and I do think that his season 2 appearance is better. So yeah, we're gonna move on to Ijichi. So he, I would say, is a very simple appearance. There's not many like super distinguishing elements to his appearance. But kind of what is interesting is when his personality does kind of come out of that, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit throughout this panel, is like sometimes when you have a simpler design for a character, when they have like a really strong personality, it's a lot easier to get that personality across when there isn't like a lot of complicated appearance to it. But the character that I thought he like had like a strongest like relationship with in the greater like anime universe was the butler character in Princess Jellyfish. They both like end up being chauffeurs, and they both like kind of end up in like the butler situation, like wearing suits and like having to like chauffeur people around. Yeah, and so I would say that this is more like probably like an archetype that exists. And we have the special grade. So this is going to be specifically this one, just this one. I know that there are a lot of special grades, but we're going to just talk about this one specifically for right now. I know you kind of like, there's two different ones that pop up in the series. And I would say, I don't know if people have like watched or read D. Gray Man, but there's Apocryphos, and I just felt like this like big like correlation between them, like appearance-wise. What I wrote down was no shirt, just pants. I think that got written at like 5 a.m. this morning. That's what got slipped in there. But I would say maybe there's like a lot of things in Jujutsu Kaisen that give me like D. Gray Man vibes, and I try not to be like the one person that's like, they've seen one anime. Like I feel like I've seen more like shonen series than D. Gray Man, but D. Gray Man keeps popping up in this series, so I'm like, I don't know. But I would say it's like an original-ish character. So then we're gonna talk about Sukuna. How can we not talk about Sukuna? Come on. Okay. So his design is not much different than like Itadori's. The biggest difference is the markings, and his attitude comes out, especially like in the facial features and his body language. And I don't know why this was the one that came out, but I was like, we gotta get a Bleach reference in here, right? So I was like, okay, like some like kind of tattoo markings in like a specific way that kind of enhances the face. So I think it is a dusting of inspiration, if anything, but I really wanted to make sure that Sukuna got into this panel. And I think that he is an interesting character in general. I would say that his character design is original. I will say that his like internal character is maybe a little bit more like archetype. So we're going to talk about who is this guy? This is Grandpa Itadori. He is a grumpy old man. He's in the show for like what, like a minute? But I just thought that he kind of looks like the grandpa from March Comes In Like a Lion. So I was trying to be like, is it just old man? Is it just like anime old man, white hair? But I think that both of them are kind of like cranky old men, and they both care about like their grandchildren. And then who do we have? Okay, we've got Toge. This is also one that I struggled with for a really long time to kind of figure out who he looked like. He has also a very simple design, just short gray hair. And then he's mostly just outfit. Like he's got just a little bit of face, and then when he reveals his face, he's got almost kind of like, I don't know, have you guys seen Mashal? He's got like the Mashal lines, you know? I don't know, have you guys seen Kill la Kill? Yeah, this is what like, when I felt like I had like matched it, I was like, okay, like it's the turtleneck. The other one is that when When I watched the season 2, I was like, I like all of the season 2 designs for like this age group a little bit better than their like newer cleaned up designs. And I don't think that personality-wise these two are at all similar, but I just couldn't help like the short spiky hair with the turtleneck. So yes, people are borrowing the turtlenecks. But I do think that sometimes simpler is better, kind of like what we talked about before. Like personality comes out a lot more. I think this is one of the characters that like isn't flashy or like gaudy with his personality, but like is really like subtly compassionate and really caring. And I think his outfit and his appearance does suit that. We're gonna talk about Panda. When I was looking this up, I was like, are there a lot of other Panda characters? I was like, is this a unique thing? I also love, as I was watching season 2, I realized, I did like a whole huge rewatch of this, and I realized how much like Panda paraphernalia he wears. Like he's really big about pandas. It's funny because he also has like the other cores in him, and he's predominantly Panda. We gotta put Gemma from Ranma 1/2 in here. I was really trying to think of another Panda character, and I would say that character-wise, they are not similar at all. And I think it also kind of highlights that like, just because they are pandas doesn't mean that they will kind of be like the same kind of character. And Gemma is always trying to get out of work. And I feel like Panda is very committed to his teammates and his cause. But I do think that they would be friends. I also think that they are both kind of in a way part-time pandas. So we're gonna talk about Maki. Yes! I think she's my favorite of this age group. I just think her design is really dynamic. I think it's really cool that she doesn't have like, oh no, I'm gonna get fact-checked here. She doesn't have like the, you know, anyway. I don't want to be wrong. Anyway, so she also kind of has a simpler design, but I also really struggled with who she looked like. This was like the first one that I kind of pulled up. I think it's mostly like glasses shapes. I don't think that character-wise that they're very similar. But then kind of more recently, I was thinking about this like character from one of the Evangelion movies that's in there for like 2 seconds. But I think that their frames are very similar, and like their default face expression is very similar. I don't really remember what this character is like in Evangelion. Like they're literally in there for like 2 minutes, but I just thought it was an interesting like design comparison. I think where this character design really shines is again in the movie when we get to see them a little bit younger. They don't really have like the exact outfits yet. And one of my favorite moments of characterization is when she's sitting on this table. It was just such a personal event, and I think there's just something really interesting about like where you put a character in a shot, and just like she feels comfortable, she's not quite following the rules, she's kind of still above him. Yeah, this was one of my favorite moments in Jujutsu Kaisen, besides like action scenes. So yeah, I would say that maybe there is some inspiration, especially since we know he's kind of into Evangelion, possibly. She's definitely borrowing somebody's glasses. And I do think that movie Maki is best Maki. Thank you. We're gonna move on. Oh, I wanted to just put this in here because I really liked how this year kind of look in this movie. I think they're really cute, and I wish that they got a little bit more time to shine. But we're going to talk about Mahito. I see some cosplayers out there. Woo! Woo! Okay, sorry. Be normal. I think this is a really interesting character design. Like we've got the long blue hair. They're always calling him Patchwork, which I agree with. But when I first saw his design, I was like, come on! What? And both of their techniques have to do with like hands. So I was like, is this like, are we plagiarizing? Who came first? Like, is this just going to become like a shonen trope? But I would say that they are kind of character siblings. I also think it's interesting that they're both kind of like childish villains, that's just kind of like a subcategory of this group. Yeah, and then we're gonna talk about Junpei. There's gonna be, okay, anyway. I think that his design is really simple, but I feel like I was ruined on this whole arc for him because I had seen Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, and it's literally the same arc, like verbatim. They have the same haircut, they have roughly, like, they are just, like, they both are kind of shy. One's into, like, movies, the other one's into photography. They both make friends with, like, either the main character or somebody from the main cast. And then that is used against them in the story. And they're kind of like an evil, more corrupt force in the story, like devastates them in some way. So yeah, I was excited for this character, but then I was also like, this is the exact same thing. So this is the one that I would say is maybe the most plagiarism category. It could be an archetype that I'm just not aware of, very, very specific archetype. And I would say that for either series, it may be something that's like unoriginal as like a minimum. And if it's used in the future, maybe somebody will subvert it and make it more interesting. But I think that this arc just kind of felt a little flat because of that. Yes. I put him a little later in just because I know people really like him. And I was like, gotta, intersperse the little treats in there. So let's put him on the screen. So yeah, I would say that he is a pretty unique character. Something that kind of got me right away is we're back to D. Gray Man. I feel like a lot of the Noah have these markings as well. And I was not going to finish Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 before making this panel, but I'm really glad I did because I realized why the markings were there. I was going to come up here and be like, oh yeah, isn't it really cool that there's like these markings on this character? I wonder why that is, and everybody would be like, so I really liked his character design in the movie. There's just something like when you first meet him in season 1, he's like very calm, very calculated. And at this point, when you meet him in the movie, he's like unhinged. And you feel that like in all of his character. And so I thought that was really cool. I wanted to make sure that we got that there. And then this is definitely my favorite version. I really, really like when they make a character, like, you can feel what they're going through. Like, I really, like, season 2, like, had, like, the budget for it. And again, like, this is just a very simple design. Like, he's got, like, they make fun of his little bangs that's out. But like, there's really not anything super sophisticated about his character, and that's why when a character moment like this happens, it's not distracting. You feel that. The other thing that his character not aesthetically reminded me of, but more like character motivations reminded me of, is Geto kind of like decides to save sorcerers over humanity. And I think that's kind of like, he wants to kind of, in his own way, protect the people around him. And I think Road Camelot, her whole thing is like, she also wants to get rid of humanity and save just the Noah. So I thought kind of like, on a broader anime sense, they seemed in the same category. So this, I did not put anything else from here. I think he is original by all of the different facets, whether it's like something, if he looks like somebody else or if he acts like somebody else. I think like he's original despite that, just because he has so much going on with his character. And I do think that season 2, like the first part, is my favorite. A little joke that I'm going to put in here is that we did, my friend, I'm going to put her on blast for a moment here. We were at Kineticon last year, and we hadn't seen a single Jinshi cosplayer. My friend goes, what do you mean? I've seen so many Jinshi cosplayers. She had not. So I am not saying that these characters are any at all similar, but they are mistakable. And then even today, when I was showing the slide to my friends, my friend goes, "Oh yeah, Shinji." So we had a whole moment with this character. So I'm glad you guys got some laughs out of that. Take a moment. We're going to talk about Yuki. I think I want to know so much more about her character. I feel like we just get like the littlest of glimpses of her. But when I first saw her character, I immediately thought about Kyoko from Fruits Basket. And I don't think that the author of Jujutsu Kaisen was like, oh yeah, we're gonna use fruits baskets in the series, but like, I feel like as you see them up on the screen, they kind of blur together, like which character could be which. I think like the biker, kind of rebellious, aloof, long-haired lady applies to both. The other one that when I watched season 2, and we got a little bit more time with her character, she gives me like vibes. Like I know that she's kind of good. She's like on her journey to like do good things for like all of humanity. But I also think, especially with her interactions with Geto, that I feel like something else is going on, that she may not always be doing the right thing. And I think Link from D. Gray Man, aesthetically and character-wise, fit this a bit as well. He's definitely a very morally gray character, and they got the bangs. I also thought that this character, I've watched a little bit of Kill Bill recently, and as somebody who has only seen Kill Bill now, this character kind of looks like that person, but I'm not chalking that up as the author's responsibility. But I would say kind of like a Geto, original by proxy to a lot of different things, either whether it's character-wise or aesthetic. Yeah, so we're gonna move on to Toto. I had a lot of fun picking out the images for the slide. He's such a fun character. I think also there's not anything super specific about his character, except for maybe like the scar. But when I first saw his character, I have not seen as much of Demon Slayer to know this other gentleman and what his personality is like, but I just thought it was really funny that we had like 2 buff dudes crying. So is it a new archetype? Should we do more of this? Maybe. I really enjoyed it. It's really funny. And yeah, I would say that he's plenty original. So we're going to talk about Mei Mei for a little bit. Her aesthetic really bothered me. I think she really reminds me of like a Bleach character, but I can't pinpoint what it would be. But her kind of like aesthetic and design throughout like both seasons and the movie changes drastically. And I think some of them are great and some of them are not as strong. So I think the one that she has in season 1, like her main one, I think is the least strong. I had a lot of trouble figuring out what she looked like, and I just came up with the one from Death Parade. This was like the year ago slide. More recently, as I've seen season 2, I think like she's got like a luxury vibe. I know that like we know that she's like counting pennies and like, you know, everything is a calculation. But I think she just exudes this like rich, like first class energy. And I was thinking about Eden of the East. And I had put them together, but I didn't have as much justification for it when I did. And then this like phone shot scene happened and I was like, yes! I called it! But my favorite of her designs, I don't really have a comparison for this, but I wanted to slip it in just because it's so crispy. Like, why couldn't this be her main design in like the main show? And I'm sorry if you really like her braid design. You can, that's fine. But this is the design I like. I think it was just, again, like something really simple about it. Like I always knew who she was in the room. I don't think that her like hairstyle is distracting from her facial features, which I think are really interesting. You can kind of see how sharp her features are. So I would say maybe it's inspired by something, but I think mostly I just wanted to put her in this PowerPoint. And I would definitely say, like you heard me say, the beginning of season 2 her is my favorite. Why was it only like the first few episodes that she had that design in? We're going to talk about Yori next. And I would say that like I could pull her apart in season 1, but I think she has a very forgettable design. I think it's just very sweet, and that's kind of it. What it did kind of remind me of was, we're bringing fruits baskets in here. I'm a really big fruits baskets fan, so we're just got to deal with it. But kind of hair color wise, I thought she kind of looked like Kagura. And then like full hairstyle wise, Ritsu. Also not any sort of character relationship, just purely aesthetic. This is a very loose comparison here. This is not really super related, but I wanted to make sure that we got this design in here, because like the last one we just talked about, this is also, I think, criminal that this is not in the show more. It's just so good. Like, look at those facial expressions. Like, you just get so much more power out of these character designs. So I would say that this is maybe chalked up to a bit of what we're seeing in comparison to other series, just something that is like cultural or like general fashion sense in Japan. And I do agree, season 2 is best. Okay, we're gonna talk about, if you don't remember who this is, it's the Barry the Chopper character. It's the Barry the Chopper character. It's the Barry the Chopper character. I saw him and I was like, I found these 2 images and I was like, oh yes, okay, we've got the apron. I don't know if this is like a butcher cliche somewhere in the world, or if this is just the author likes Fullmetal Alchemist and was like, I need like a villain that wants to like do sculpture with people's bodies, and what better than Barry the Chopper? Barry the Chopper. Okay. So I would say the biggest thing here is that he is an unforgettable character. I'm a little begrudging about that. I could choose to forget him, but I can't because Barry the Chopper. So we're gonna move on. We'll try our best to leave him out. We're gonna talk about Shigemo. So I really want to hate his character. I think he's really annoying, but I also think he's so like well written. I love all the ways that he shows expressions, and yeah, he does not understand what's going on and the consequences of his actions. This is kind of like a throw out one. I think like based on like energy, I don't know if you guys have seen like Carol and Tuesday. but I feel like the way the characters move around, not so much aesthetic, but just kind of like their demeanor is similar. And the other one I put in here that's more recently is, again, not based on demeanor at all, but just aesthetics. I think it's just simply blonde hair, ponytail situation. This is Hohenheim from FMA. But yeah, I would say his design is original. I kind of find it annoying, but he does stand out, and I do think he has a really unique character. So the next one we're going to talk about is the principal. He has, I feel like, a pretty standard anime appearance. Buff dude, sunglasses, and I kind of felt like he kind of had like a relationship with Scar situation. I think it's like the sunglasses, like very chiseled face, and specifically the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Scar, okay? Not the Full Metal Alchemist Scar. I wanted to throw his design from, I believe it's season 2, the beginning of season 2 in here, just because I also thought it was really interesting seeing the difference between these two. And I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting design. Is it an archetype out there? I don't know. But I think that he had a really solid character. I really like his relationship with Panda. And yes, so we're gonna move on to this guy. Sorry, I'm going to take a little break. I also thought, when I first saw his character, I didn't have an exact reason to compare him to D. Gray Man, and then I thought about it a little bit more. And he kind of reminded me, again, not character-wise, but there's this part in D. Gray Man where this character is able to like give part of their soul away, and when they do that, they age. And when this character aged, I was like, oh, okay, they kind of seem a little bit similar. But I think it's also kind of like the other situation with the grandpa, where is it just old man? Or do they just look alike because of that? So I would say that overall his design is original. I love the guitar. I think that's a really good surprise when you're watching it for the first time. But yeah, they have very different personalities. So we're going to talk about the Kyoto School for a little bit for this next section here. This character also kind of stunted me for a little while. His character design, I would say, is relatively, I feel it's like in between unique and subtle. Like he has just regular black hair, but then he has the unique detail of like the side ribbons. And the character that I thought he was similar to aesthetically was from Bleach, and I think it's the length of the black hair, it's the build, and it's the bow and arrow. So I would say that this is a medium-ish original character, like comparison relationship. Is an archetype. I would say it could be maybe a borrowed design. But yeah, so we'll move on to Nishimiya. And she's got the ponytails, and she's a witch, and she's from Kiki's Delivery Service. So I first put this in, and then I rewatched all of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I realized that they are actually very different characters. I think like we don't get much time with the senior witch from Kiki's Delivery Service. She's kind of like, yeah, I would agree, she's mean. And I think like as I got to know the Jujutsu Kaisen character a little bit more, I realized that she cares about cute things. Her design, I think, is one of the ones I'll say does not get in the way of her emotions. Like, I still feel like I can get her emotions, even though she has a pretty distinct outfit. I would say maybe this is a borrowed design. I think there's a lot of characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, and I think sometimes it's okay to take a character that kind of exists, change it a little bit, and change the personality completely, and I think it can be interesting to integrate that into your story. So I would say original-ish. We're going to talk about Mai, and she also has a very simple design, but I think that she's just Cray from Princess Tutu if you gave her a gun. They are both they are both not nice. They both have a short bob cut, and I would say that this is one that is pretty lateral in both character design and who they are as a person as well. So for this one, I would say they are more of like character siblings. Yes, okay. I think we are running a little low on time, so I just want to make sure that we get to each of these. So I'm going to speed up a little bit for these, so just so that we have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. So we're going to go a little rapid fire. So we're going to talk about Miwa. I really liked her design. She's from Chainsaw Man. So this I feel like is a little bit both appearance-wise and also I think they are both a little bit nervous as characters. I think they have some confidence issues. It could also be the bangs. We're going to talk about Muta. He has a lot of different ways that he looks. So we're just going to briefly look at a few of these. I don't know if y'all have seen Somali in the Forest Spirit. I'm probably saying that wrong. When I watched that, I was like, oh, okay, kind of reminds me of the Jujutsu Kaisen character. I just wanted to bring out some of the things that when I was thinking about how Jujutsu Kaisen might have been influenced by Evangelion, these were some of the things that were popping up. Especially that like Mechamaru has like the cable, like that was very specific to include that. So yeah, definitely an influence. So I would say that this is the biggest one that I usually put in this PowerPoint, that there's a question mark after inspiration. But this one I can just say is probably inspiration. We'll go into a little bit of the villains. So her design kind of itched me, and then I found some relief with Princess Tutu. I think that they are both kind of secretary, and they're both maybe not doing great things for the world. Business boss villain. Okay, this one. I had originally thought that I was going to put him as like vague JoJo. And then I saw a cosplayer yesterday, and I was like, oh, maybe we have JoJo in the Hunter x Hunter universe. So I don't know if that would be an inspiration, but I definitely think that his design is very simple. But yeah, I still get his personality very well. This is one, again, maybe more JoJo happening with this character. So maybe it is an inspiration. I definitely didn't think that he got enough screen time for me to understand his character and get more like maybe other people in the universe that he looks like. This is this character. And this is, I feel like, just a general like fashion style in Japan. When I was Googling these sisters, this also came up from, I believe, Dawn to Dawn, which I thought was interesting. Maybe them in another universe. So I would say, I would call it relatively an original idea. I think when you use an existing like fashion trend or style, I don't think that that hurts your character. I think it's nice to see like real life examples of people in your anime. This is her sister, who I think, again, is a little bit boring. I think there's just too many characters in Jujutsu Kaisen with the brown bob. And I think that this just, she doesn't come up in the series as much. So I think it just I think it has a lot of potential. I don't think she got it. So I didn't compare her to anybody else. But I wanted to move on to this character. And I thought he was a really interesting character, but somehow I still found his appearance boring. And I think it's just that we don't see a lot of his face. I think that when his personality does come out, we don't, because he's too simple and his personality is too simple, I think it falls flat as a character. I don't have anyone specifically that I think he looks like, but I wanted to make a point of putting him in this presentation. So if you do have somebody that you think that he looks like, definitely let me know. Yes. We're gonna talk about Akari. Just to get another, I think they're called windows, another window in this presentation. And I just, purely on aesthetic, I thought of Haikyuu. And I also wanted to include this image of her with the earring because I really like it. Borrowed hairstyle, but overall I think she's a really unique character. No relationship to Haikyuu. I don't know what her relationship, I'm not manga, I'm only in the anime, so I don't know what her relationship is to this gentleman, like siblings or like cousins or, whatever. I think he also had a really simple design. I didn't find a character that looked like him, but I did find a character that kind of had a similar power to him, like being able to put somebody's damage on hold. I thought was really interesting. Reminded me of Miranda from D-Gray-man. Again, I know one anime. So simple but effective design. This character, I feel like, kind of like the last one we talked about, not super distinctive character design, but I think that character-wise, he reminds me a lot of Choji, again, from D-Gray-man, just wants the main character dead, was friendly towards the main character, but then as things unfold and the main character becomes problematic, kind of flip sides and is against them. So I thought that was interesting. We're going to talk about Yuta, who in season 2 gets a little scary. He was such a baby. He was so Shinji in the movie. Just playing in sandboxes and having a chair moment. So I just thought they were a little interesting. And let's see. Okay, we got our tree. Okay, we're gonna talk about Gojo. Woo! Okay, come on. My roommate was, something, teacher, something, mask, students, Anyway, I think the biggest difference between them is that he's a little crazy. He's definitely got something going on. This is my second favorite of his designs. I think actually it made him feel a little bit more unique to have something that felt like he was actually making it. And this is definitely my favorite version of him. Very Trigon. So yeah, maybe inspiration. Definitely liked his youngest self the best. And if you like this dynamic, maybe you'll like Trigon. We got this character, and I actually didn't realize at first that she was this character. I think just because no bags under the eyes, and she's got shorter hair, another brown bob. But has anybody heard of Boogie Pop? It's okay if you haven't. I really love Boogie Pop, but I think that they both have kind of a mysterious vibe. Similar haircut. And then here, I just thought that this character kind of felt like level 2 D-Gray-man Akuma vibes. Creepy little beastie. And then this character I thought kind of also reminded me of a character from D. Gray Man, a vampire character, but also in the JoJo universe. I think this is part 3, maybe. This is the one I felt related the most to this character. And okay, we're on the last 2. Okay, so one more after this. This is probably my second favorite character in this whole series. I think his design is really unique. I think his character is really unique, even though the entire time he's like, brother. This was my favorite fight scene. I call it the blood bath because it's blood in a bathroom. I know, bad, haha. I don't know, something Naruto, something, this is their kid. Something, this character again. Also, I don't know if people have seen Ergo Proxy, but he kind of has like the like proxy character vibes. But anyway, in any case, he has a very cool, very unique style. I also thought it was interesting that as these characters are introduced, it's kind of like most beast-like to most human scale as they're introduced, which I just thought was interesting. And then this is probably my favorite character. I love a bad dad. And the character that I thought he was most like, there's a series called To Your Eternity, and there's this character that starts off, she kind of seems like she's just, you know, cool with human sacrifice, and then it turns out she is very pro-human sacrifice. She's not going with the flow of the times. And one of her descendants, I think, looks the most like him. But yeah, so I just think he's really cool. I wanted to put him in here. But basically, Jujutsu Kaisen has a lot of characters. Some of them look like characters from other series. A lot of them either have similar character, appearances or personalities. And then when I went and rewatched Jujutsu Kaisen after making my 28 character list of all the lookalikes, I realized that personality-wise it wasn't that bad. So I gotta give Jujutsu Kaisen a lot more credit. I just wanted to say thank you for attending this panel. It's really cool that you all showed up. And shameless plug, my website is sierraedwards.com. I have a YouTube channel that this will hopefully be up on there in the coming months. It's Artisanal Fruits. And this is the Q&A. So it looks like we already have a hand. Cool. Hello.
So,
hello.
I just wanted to point out, you said D. Gray Man quite a few times. It's my favorite anime/manga. I have 2 bags that I sang the 30 at karaoke today. I'm also obviously cosplaying Tiki Me, as you probably noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where's your deck of cards?
I'd love to get them at some point.
But you're on the D. Gray Man
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen train.
Yeah, I've
Nice.
never actually seen Jujutsu Kaisen, but I might try it at some point.
I think you should watch it.
Yeah, I should probably watch it, yeah.
Cool.
But I really hope the anime of D. Gray Man returns at some point. I think it's an amazing watch for anyone who hasn't seen it to try it out. And I just wanted to gush about D. Gray Man for a moment.
That's fair. We love D. Gray Man. I actually had a falling out with it at one point, and I'm back on the D. Gray Man chain. Thank you for your comment, and I want to give somebody else a chance.
I hope the anime returns at some point.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. You kept mentioning about the Nemesis design, and there's actually a character in Black Clover with the same in the front braid.
Wait, I missed the character. Oh, very cool. Oh, sick. Yes. Okay, and that's in Black Clover.
Black Clover. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I just thought that was a very unique one. 2 people do different things at it.
And 2 nickels. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm a manga cosplayers for him.
Yeah.
I reading it thought he looked identical to Howell from Howl's Moving Castle because I also believed he was blonde.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought he was like a Frankenstein Howl. I just think it's crazy he has blue hair.
Yeah.
Also, the main Yuji, the main character. Now that I know he has blue hair, I think he looks a lot like Natsu from Fairy Tail.
I think you're right. Yeah. I don't watch a lot of fairy tales, so I'm always like, if somebody brings a character up, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just one thing that, like, yeah, thank you for letting me know everyone's hair color.
Yeah. this was the hair color information panel.
So crazy. I thought, I don't remember her name. I thought she had pink hair, the one with the witch. I don't know why. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. And I think we have time for one more. Yay!
I have two little things.
Okay, great.
Adding on to what they just said with Monto, I think also a big one that, like, when I watched Soul Leader was Frankenstein. I think they look very similar, kind of
Soul
have
Leader.
a similar creepy vibe. I haven't finished Soul Leader, so I'm not 100% sure.
I've only seen one episode, so I'm like, I don't know.
But also another one too. Oh, this is him.
Yeah, I see it though, I see it.
Another one too. I really like Chozo, obviously.
Yeah, I can't tell.
a big character that like Chozo reminded me of, just in like the powers aspect. I think they came out around the same time, but like Power from Chainsaw Man, I think they have like identical powers. I think it's really cool. She also just happens to be one of my favorite characters, so I think it's just really cool, like how they have very similar powers, but such different personalities.
Yeah, that they have to have like a blood supply. Yeah, I agree.
Their powers are very similar, but their personalities are so different. I think it's really cool. It shows that things can be similar, but like the tropes can still have, there's a lot of things similar. I just think it's really cool.
Thank you so much. I think that is all the time that we have, but I just want to thank y'all again for coming. Woo! Thank you again to everybody that was able to attend the physical panel. If I missed any of your favorite characters, or there's anybody that wasn't included in the Q&A or in my presentation, feel free to comment them below. I'm really interested to see what other people think, or if they agree with me, disagree, whatever. This is Artisanal Fruits signing off, and I hope you have a fantastic fucking day.